The afternoon sun dipped low over Malibu, casting long, honeyed shadows across the sprawling French colonial estate that Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Phillippe once called home. In the gilded warmth of early evening, the world outside seemed suspended in an idyllic reverie. Palm fronds swayed lazily in the ocean breeze, and the faint strains of a distant guitar drifted up from the patio. To an outsider, this was the picture of Hollywood bliss, a golden couple whose love story had captured headlines and hearts alike. Reese stood by the grand piano in the living room, her fingertips brushing over the glossy black keys as if seeking solace in their cool surface. She had spent the morning reviewing scripts, preparing for her next project, yet each line of dialogue felt hollow. Across the room, a framed photograph of their wedding day glowed in the late afternoon light. Reese radiant in ivory lace, Ryan beaming beside her, his hand resting gently on her waist. In that captured moment, nothing could go wrong, yet something had already begun to unravel. Her phone buzzed quietly on the piano bench. Without looking, Reese recognized the number. Ryan's agent, no doubt checking in about his upcoming press tour. She picked up the call, her voice steady, professional, but as she listened to the familiar rumble of her husband's faraway schedule, a knot of unease tightened in her chest. Why, she wondered, did his tone sound so hesitant? Why did the call end with a promise of, "We'll talk about it later," as though the conversation itself were something to be postponed? That night, over an intimate dinner on their terrace, the torches flickering and the salt-scented air thick with the promise of summer, Reese could not ignore the distance in Ryan's gaze. He laughed easily at the waiter's jokes and commented on the sea breeze, but his eyes drifted repeatedly toward the beach, as if he expected someone else to appear. The laughter in his voice sounded forced, rehearsed, almost foreign. She forced a smile, careful to keep her tone light. "Are you all right?" she asked, tracing the rim of her glass with a slender finger. His reply was equally disarming. "Just tired, sweetheart. These interviews drain me." Yet the small anomalies continued to pile up like footprints in sand. A lipstick stain on his favorite shirt left in the laundry. A receipt for an extravagant dinner in New York she had not been invited to. A text message preview that flickered on his locked phone, displaying only a vague, "Can't wait to see you again," before vanishing into the swipe of a finger. Each discovery was a sparking ember in the cavern of her mind, igniting questions she could not silence. In the quiet moments, before sleep claimed her, Reese replayed every interaction, searching for clues in the inflection of his voice, in the crease of his brow. She recalled the softness in his smile when he thought no one was watching, and the way he once wrapped his arms around her, as though he feared she might vanish into thin air. That same tenderness now felt fragile, as though built on glass. As midnight approached, she found herself drawn downstairs to the master suite, where his half of the bed lay untouched and cool. The moonlight filtered through sheer curtains, illuminating the empty pillow that should have held his weight. She pressed her hand against the mattress, as though hoping to capture some lingering warmth. Instead, she felt only the hollow of absence. Outside, the ocean sighed against the shore, a reminder that beneath even the most serene surfaces, currents run deep and unpredictable. And in that moment, Reese understood that the greatest threat to their fairy tale romance did not come from tabloid cameras or public scrutiny, but from the quiet, simmering doubts festering in her own heart. Thus, as dawn threatened the horizon, she steeled herself for the days to come. In the next chapter of their story, she vowed she would seek the truth, no matter how devastating it might be. Morning light filtered through the gauzy curtains of Reese's bedroom, painting delicate patterns on the hardwood floor. She awoke with a lingering ache in her chest, as if the night had whispered warnings she could not unhear. Recalling the emptiness of Ryan's side of the bed, she rose quietly and made her way down the polished hallway toward his study. On his desk lay a creased envelope she had never seen before. The handwriting was elegant but unfamiliar, and the postmark read, "Paris." With trembling fingers, Reese slid it open and withdrew a ticket for a private flight departing in 2 days. No return date was mentioned. The paper trembled in her hand as a chill ran through her veins. What was he planning without her? Her gaze drifted to the open drawer, where she discovered another clue, a single white orchid, its petals immaculate, nestled inside, alongside a receipt for an extravagant dinner at Le Jules Verne atop the Eiffel Tower. It was a gesture beyond lavish, an intimate tryst she had not been invited to share. As she held the receipt, faint traces of a familiar perfume lingered at the edges, a scent she recognized from a magazine photo of Ryan whispering into the ear of a mysterious blonde at a gala the previous week. Doubt had always been a quiet companion in her marriage, but now it surged forward, demanding attention. Reese replayed the gala scene in her mind, Ryan's hand resting on the small of the woman's back, his laughter directed entirely at her jokes, his gaze never straying to find Reese in the room. At the time, Reese had assumed it was innocent socializing. After all, Ryan was charismatic and generous with his charm. But now, in the harsh light of morning, the image felt stained. Determined to understand the full picture, Reese retrieved Ryan's laptop from the shelf. With a cautious breath, she logged in, knowing full well that this step might shatter what remained of her trust. The screen lit up with a string of encrypted messages, their previews tantalizingly vague. Tonight was unforgettable. Counting the hours until I see you again. Each line pulsed like a heartbeat in the hush of the room. She scrolled, her heart pounding, as the messages unfolded into a secret world he had built without her. Her vision blurred with tears. She had married a man she believed honest and devoted. Now she felt adrift in a sea of half-truths and concealed rendezvous, where once she had found comfort in the routine of their life, shared cups of coffee, morning text exchanges, inside jokes. Now every ritual felt like a lie. How many moments had been genuine, and how many rehearsed for her benefit? Reese closed the laptop slowly, as though shutting the door on a part of her soul. She paced the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood, each step echoing her mounting anxiety. The estate around her was silent, its grandeur suddenly oppressive. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed manicured gardens and an endless horizon. Yet beyond those walls lay a network of secrets she could no longer ignore. Late afternoon found her in the master bathroom, standing before the mirror in her white silk robe. The reflection that looked back at her was pale and drawn, eyes rimmed with worry. She pressed her fingertips against the cool marble counter and took a steadying breath. The questions weighed on her like stones. Who was this woman in Paris? What promise had Ryan broken? And most agonizing of all, why had he chosen deception over the love they once shared? When Ryan finally returned home that evening, carrying nothing but a briefcase and a forced smile, Reese confronted him in the foyer. The flickering chandelier cast angular shadows across his face. She held out the Paris ticket and the orchid receipt like evidence in a trial. "Explain this," she demanded, her voice low but unwavering. Ryan's confident composure faltered. His eyes widened, and for a moment he simply stared at the items in her hand. Then he sighed, running a hand through his hair. The easy charm she once adored seemed distant, replaced by unease. "I can't. Not yet," he whispered. "Give me one day." Reese's heart pounded as she let the papers slip from her fingers. Behind her, the chandelier light danced across the walls, as if mocking her. Shadows fell across her face, mirroring the doubt that now defined every corner of her world. As she turned and walked away, Reese knew the next 24 hours would decide everything. In the silence that followed, the only sound was her own steady breathing, determined, resolute, and prepared to uncover the truth buried beneath the shadows of doubt. The marquee lights of the Los Angeles Women's Fund Gala glittered like a constellation above the Beverly Hilton, casting an elegant glow over the red carpet. Reese slipped into the sleek black gown she had chosen weeks ago, its satin fabric hugging her silhouette as she adjusted a single pearl earring. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration of progress and empowerment, a joint mission she and Ryan had championed together. Instead, every step toward the entrance felt like walking into a crucible of uncertainty. Inside, the ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and mirrored columns. The hum of conversation swelled in waves, punctuated by laughter and the clink of champagne flutes. Reese scanned the room, searching for the reassuring sight of Ryan's tailored tuxedo. She spotted him near the center, but not alone. A tall, blonde woman in a champagne-colored dress leaned into him, her hand resting lightly on his arm. Their heads tilted together in shared amusement, their laughter rippling out like an inside joke. Reese's pulse quickened. Memories of the Paris ticket and the whispered messages flooded back, each one sharper than the last. She moved closer, weaving through clusters of philanthropists and photographers, her heart pounding in her throat. By the time she reached them, Ryan had turned away from his companion, noticing Reese's approach. The woman stepped back, smoothing the front of her dress and offering Reese a polite smile, as though innocently occupying the space Ryan seemed to reserve for her. "Reese?" Ryan said, his voice a mixture of relief and something else. Panic, perhaps? He took a half step toward her, but the woman remained between them. Reese watched the way her husband's gaze flicked from that blonde's face to hers, and in that instant, the distance between them felt infinite. "Who is this?" Reese asked quietly, nodding toward the woman. Her tone was calm, but each word crackled with controlled tension. The Gala's music softened around them, as if waiting for his answer. Ryan cleared his throat, swallowing. "Her name is Camille Dubois. She's one of the event's new ambassadors." He offered a brief, tense smile that failed to reach his eyes. "I'm sorry I didn't mention her before." Camille stepped forward, extending her hand. "Mrs. Witherspoon, I've heard so much about your work. It's an honor." Her accent was faintly French, and her tone was polished, practiced. Reese took the hand automatically, but instead of warmth, she felt a fragile veneer of diplomacy. As Camille drifted away into the current of well-wishers, Reese turned back to Ryan. The room's golden glow suddenly felt harsh, illuminating every line of tension in his face. She folded her arms, waiting. Ryan glanced at the Gala planner approaching with a schedule change, then back at Reese, as though seeking permission to delay the conversation. Reese's voice was steady. "Is that all?" He hesitated, searching her eyes. Then he closed the gap between them, lowering his voice. "There's more," he admitted, the words coming out in a rush. "Camille and we've been talking after hours about a new foundation project in Paris. I didn't tell you because I wanted to present it as a surprise. I thought you'd like it." Surprise. A small word that cut through her like a blade. Reese kept her expression composed, but inside, a storm raged. "You didn't think I deserved to know?" she asked softly. Ryan's shoulders slumped. "I was wrong. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you." In that moment, amid the glittering chandeliers and applauding guests, Reese realized the confession she had been waiting for was finally here. An admission not of betrayal, but of fear. Fear that the truth would unravel what they had built together. Yet it was precisely that truth she needed now. She nodded once, slowly. Then, "Let's go somewhere quieter." Hand in hand, they slipped away from the Gala's bright lights into a private lounge, the doors closing behind them like a promise of honesty at last, and the bridge to the final reckoning in their story. Late-night Los Angeles air drifted through the half-open window of Reese and Ryan's coastal retreat, carrying the scent of salt spray and jasmine. Inside, the soft glow of a single lamp illuminated the living room where they stood facing each other. No Gala crowds, no hidden messages, only the quiet hum of the Pacific beyond their walls. It was here, in the sanctuary of shared vulnerability, that the final chapter of their story would unfold. Reese sank onto the plush sofa, smoothing the silk folds of her gown. Ryan settled beside her, shoulders hunched with the weight of unspoken remorse. For a long moment, they simply watched the moonlight ripple across the hardwood floor, gathering their courage. Reese inhaled slowly. "You said you were afraid the truth would destroy us," she began, her voice gentle but unwavering. "But secrets have already chipped away at the foundation we built." Ryan nodded, his hand reaching out to cover hers. "I thought I was protecting us, protecting you from disappointment. I never realized I was creating the very distance I feared." His gaze held hers, earnest and contrite. "I hurt you by deciding unilaterally, by letting doubt grow instead of sharing it." The confession hung between them like fragile glass. Reese traced invisible patterns on the sofa's upholstery, gathering her own reflections. Memories of their early days, late-night script readings in bed, spontaneous beach walks, laughter echoing under the stars, flooded back, dissolving the hard edges of betrayal. She realized that the same love that had been wounded could also heal. "I miss us," she admitted, voice trembling. "I miss the honesty that felt effortless." He drew a breath, his expression softening. "I miss it too, and I want to earn that back, step by step." Reese studied his face, seeing not just the man who had faltered, but the partner who had, despite his mistakes, chosen to own them. She pressed her hand to her heart, feeling the timid flutter of hope. "Tell me what happened in Paris," she whispered. "No more surprises." Ryan exhaled. I went to finalize the project details for the Paris Fund. Yes, a legitimate cause, but I got sidetracked. I let late-night dinners and rehearsed smiles convince me that I could compartmentalize my life, work in one box, marriage in another. But life isn't organized like that. Feelings bleed through deadlines and invitations. Reese nodded, absorbing every word. And the messages? He looked down, ashamed. I panicked. I saw how upset you were, and I deleted them, hoping no trace would remain. But I should have faced you instead of erasing my mistake. Tears welled in her eyes, not of anger now, but of relief. Relief that the truth, in all its rawness, had finally surfaced. She reached up, cupping his cheek. "Thank you for telling me." He leaned into her hand, allowing the warmth of her touch to steady him. "Can you forgive me?" Her breath caught. Forgiveness was not an erasure of pain, but a testament to their resilience. "I can," she said softly. "But forgiveness isn't a single moment. It's a journey. We'll rebuild trust together, with openness and patience. No more secret meetings, no more withheld calls." Ryan's eyes glistened. "I promise." They sat in companionable silence as the ocean's cadence lulled them, each wave a reminder that even the most powerful waters begin as gentle ripples. After a while, Reese stood and went to the mantel, retrieving 2 framed photos, one of their wedding day, the other of them laughing barefoot on a moonlit beach. She handed one to Ryan. "For you," she said, "to remind us of who we are when we're honest." He took it, voice thick. "And this," he replied, selecting the beach photo and pressing it into her hands. "For the laughter we'll share again." They exchanged a smile full of unspoken promises. Then, instinctively, they moved closer until their foreheads touched, finding solace in the simplicity of presence. Outside, the night deepened, but within that room, love burned brighter than ever. It was neither naive nor effortless. It was forged in adversity and tempered by truth. In that moment, Reese and Ryan understood that forgiveness was not a surrender to forgetfulness, but a courageous pact to move forward, hand in hand. As dawn approached, their silhouettes softened against the window's pale light. Together, they would write the final lines of this chapter and begin the next one with hearts open, knowing that the power of forgiveness could transform even the deepest wounds into a stronger bond than before.